Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. Today, we are talking about the sequel to one of Tucker's favorite movies of all time, and a movie that I think is pretty good. We're talking about A Quiet Place Part Two. Tucker, I want to throw it over to you because, like I said in the intro, this is A Quiet Place is one of your favorite movies of all time. We saw this in the theater together just a few days ago, and I want to get your initial thoughts on it. But first, Tucker, if I can interrupt you without before you even say anything. Viewers, if you are watching this video and you like our content, hit that subscribe button down below, hit that like button on this video, and if you want to talk to us about A Quiet Place or any other movies or any other video games or anything in particular, you can join our Discord. That link is in the description. Now, Tucker, take it away.
Oh wow, that was very smooth. Thank you very much. Well, A Quiet Place is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think I consider it my favorite horror movie of all time, just because of how unique the concept is, how it heightens the tension of any horror movie and takes it to another degree. It's one of the best theater experiences I've ever had, and I don't think that quite carries over to the sequel. I don't think it's quite as unique. The small scale of the first one was one of my favorite aspects of it. It was really just obviously a small cast of characters, small location, really focused. But the ways that the sequel expands the universe, adds more characters, introduces new concepts and questions, and really gets me interested more in the world, it makes it a must see for a fan of the original. I do think that the two of them work really well as a pair. And they both have their strengths and weaknesses in terms of what they focus on. But I still prefer the first one. But maybe that's just the nostalgia talking. It's still one of my favorite movies. So
Yeah. Well, when I came out of A Quiet Place Part Two, I'm basically the same. I feel like they're on the same level, one and two for me. Um, I think it does a great thing by opening up with the day one of
yeah.
the alien invasion. I think that's a great choice to really get the audience hooked, and that is a great set piece right there.
Oh yeah, it
I
is.
especially appreciate how this movie and A Quiet Place did it too. How it builds tension so well with the dead silence in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really great sticking point of both of these movies. And Quiet Place Part Two carries it over because obviously Reagan, one of the main characters and main actresses, she is deaf in the story. So when it cuts into her perspective, it goes completely silent.
Mm-hmm.
And I also really thought it was creative how they transitioned out of those when somebody else came into frame, and now you're getting their perspective as well, not just hers. But yeah, that opening is very interesting, and I think this film also does great things with its action set pieces in the second and third acts. How it
Yeah.
splits up our main cast of characters and cuts in between them, and just keeps building that tension for all these characters we've come to know and love. But yeah, I think this film knocks it out of the park in a lot of ways, but also if we're looking at it in a critical lens, there's some plot holes, there's some contrivances that we can get into. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, I think it was a great theater experience, just like the first one.
Yeah, I do think that the strength this movie has, and something I was worried about watching it through the first half, and I see them split apart all the characters, send them their separate ways, and I'm like, okay, there's gonna be a lot of storylines to follow here. Are they gonna be able to keep it balanced? Are we gonna lose a storyline for 20 minutes and then come back to it? And to my surprise, and to I think this film's benefit, it balances its storylines very well. It's
Hmm.
constantly cutting between the three different areas, between all the different characters. So you're always keeping them straight in your mind. And interestingly, it keeps the characters doing somewhat similar things. So it reaches climaxes at the same time. So you're getting multiple action pieces leading to one another, tension moments leading to one another across different places. And it
Hmm.
really makes the film feel coherent, and you're able to get tons of different perspectives from all across the areas. And I think that variety really helps me sell it as, okay, this is a bigger experience, right? You've got characters exploring a lot more. You've got characters interacting and fighting the creatures a lot more than they were in the first one. And I think because of that, it does give it that exciting next step feel. And what I'm most excited about through this movie is how we learn about more people being out there,
Hmm.
and it's not just this one family, and the ways different people have been learning to adapt to this. And the fact is that now they have that ability that we learned at the end of the first one to release the frequency and end up actually killing the monsters
Hmm.
or the aliens. What we still don't really know what they are, and they
I
came from the
assume, yeah,
sky. Yeah.
they might have come in on like an asteroid or something like that. I
Well,
assume.
multiple asteroids, because one
Yeah,
landed in Taiwan, I think it was, something
is that
like
true?
that. at the beginning. Yeah, the news
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
the
watching.
news. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
true.
and they're like, "Oh, it's a bomb," but no.
Hmm.
But I do think that opening on that day one thing ties it together in an interesting way that we can base our knowledge of what will happen off of the first one, but we've got this to sort of retroactively place what the characters were like on the first day, and it's a really complete package with the two of them. I do think there's still plenty more they can do in this universe, but this one really got me excited for more
Hmm.
than the first one did, because I thought the first one was very contained.
Yes.
And I like the fist pump. Okay, yes, they can beat them at the end, but this one explores so much more, and it introduces even more questions while answering a few um, that I really do think that they could and should do another one just to sort of end out a trilogy.
Well, if we want to, since you brought that up, we want to talk about the possibility of a third installment before we get into some more details about the movie. John Krasinski, while he was doing the initial press tour for this movie about almost a year ago now, maybe over a year ago, he said that while he was writing two, he was, dropping. He's like he had some ideas for a third installment. And he wrote them down. And he has them stored away in his Krasinski vault. But they are working on a spin-off movie of this universe, apparently.
Hmm.
And John Krasinski has been very open in saying, this is a sandbox that I've created. It's a universe that people can come in and play in if they would like to.
Yeah.
And he hasn't said either way if he specifically is planning on making a mainline third installment.
The one thing I do have to say about John Krasinski and these movies in general is it's very impressive what he's able to do as a second time director now, especially with the
Mm,
first one, which I think I obviously think is better. But the fact is that he came out strong, and these movies are very well directed. The casts are balanced really well, and all
mhm,
we get great performances out of everyone. The fact that they build all these crumbling sets and use sand paths and all sorts of unique
mhm.
concepts to keep the characters quiet. And there's a lot of moments of like really sharp tension, like holy shit, this is really happening moments. And
Yes.
he is a great director, I would
Mhm.
say. We haven't seen a ton from him, but even just with two films in, these are both indicative of someone with a lot of skill and a lot of control over the world that he's created.
Yeah. Tucker, you talked a bit about this movie expanding in terms of the people that we see. Because in the
Mhm.
first movie, I think we only see that old guy in the woods. Or no,
Yeah.
is there an old guy in the
Yes.
woods? Okay, there is. Um, but in this one, we obviously get Killian Murphy, who we see in the trailers, and we see him on that day one. He's portraying Emmett, who, as you pointed out when we left the theater, might be some of those ideas for a third installment if we pick up right after the second one, like the second one
Yep.
picked up after the first one. But we also get a safe settlement on an island with surprise Jaimon Hansu, I might add.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and that's really exciting. And on top of that, I mean, we're going spoilers here. We have this community of dock dwelling, super
yeah.
sunburnt people who are maybe infected. We don't know if there's a virus going around or
Hmm.
something. Killian Murphy's character always referring to people as the people out there aren't worth saving, and we don't know if
Hmm.
that's really just him being wary or if there's actually something greater going
Or if
on. We don't
or if they've just become like murderous psychopaths because of the
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
apocalypse.
And then with him in possibility of a third movie, there's this obsession with his son. There's a dead body that kind of looks mummified, zombified in his attic, basically. There's a lot of cool concepts here that are touched upon, and I think the movie is does a good job in keeping itself reasonable and contained, but while also introducing more things that could be built on in the future. Like I didn't feel
Hmm.
like it was lacking something because it introduced that and
Yeah,
didn't follow up on it.
because
That
at the
was
very
just got me interested in more.
because at the same time, you could easily just push that aside and say, oh, he couldn't bear to like bury his wife, who that body was, and he's just like
Possibly,
he
sure.
just misses his son. You could easily brush that stuff away and do like my initial thoughts for a third movie were like we jump 10 years in the future and humanity is like pushing back the line of these aliens, and we
Yeah.
get Reagan is now like a 20 something and you recast her, and that's also a possibility because like John Krasinski is right. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in this universe.
And we're obviously projecting here. We have no idea what a
Yeah.
third movie or any future installments in this franchise would be. But I do think watching the progression of this movie from very small single family to exploring the larger world, introducing what other people are up to, I think completing this arc in maybe two more movies, one more movie, whatever, just a few more installments, and taking it from zero to they're recapturing the world would
Hmm.
make it a really cool arc. And
Yes.
and just like, okay, this is a series that we can like follow the whole story across. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else specific I want to say? You want to say? I want to shout out. Since we obviously didn't do a review of the first one, the monster design is also really interesting, and how they
Yeah.
move and they just fly across the screen in like a blur, and it's incredibly frightening, and it's a great like payoff to the tension that builds up when you know there's a monster somewhere.
Hmm.
Uh, those make for great additives to the set pieces in these movies.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the monster designs. I think that now that we're seeing more of them, it's not
Hmm.
as like terrifying or unique as it was in the first one. But I do think that it in some ways, sort of like aliens, if you think about it,
Hmm.
we're used to seeing these around. We're getting introduced to more of how they work, and they're not hiding in the shadows. Like we didn't see, if I'm remembering correctly, we didn't see the fact that like their face opens up and all sorts of stuff until like the end, like third act
Yes.
of the first movie.
Yeah.
So now that we're able to really show them moving around, it's just I think it's a way for them to capture the terror of people who have been seeing these,
Hmm.
and we're able to watch them climbing on walls and reacting to water and swimming and all this stuff
Hmm.
that I'm excited to see in future stuff if they continue. Uh, do the aliens interact? Is there where did they come from?
The
There's
the
so many.
queen.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's so much they can do with these monsters designs
Hmm.
that, maybe there's other versions of them. I don't know. But again, and I think this is sort of my thesis for this movie is,
Hmm.
man, it was great. I had a really good time with it. I'd love to see it again, maybe in a double feature with the first one to sort of connect them a little better.
Hmm.
But it just gets me so excited for the future because this
Yeah.
is it does feel like a middle part. It feels like a setup for something grander, but while still holding its own as an interesting story with this family that's being broken apart and put back together, and they're continuing of their journey, picking up right where they left off. It
Hmm.
fills in some holes from the first one, so it's a compelling series in that way, and I'm very happy that with finally seeing the sequel. I do want to mention that this was the movie that we were going to see the day before quarantine started and all the
True.
theaters shut down. We
Yeah.
had our tickets. We were going to go one day before. They said, "Sorry, refund your tickets. We're shutting down."
Yeah.
And that at least we finally saw it.
Yeah. At least we finally saw it. Tucker, do you have anything else to say about A Quiet Place Part Two? Well, yeah. I think we've glorified this movie quite a bit. I mean, the action set pieces, the Return of the Jedi-esque split up third act. It's all great. John Krasinski is a very talented director in this series. The cast is all knocking out of the park. Emily Blunt, we could
Yeah.
even talk about her, but she's great. All the
Hmm.
child actors, Cillian Murphy's great in this. It's just a very solid through and through movie. And we didn't talk about a lot of the plot contrivances or anything like that, but it's pretty common to a movie like this.
Hmm.
It's not going to be perfect, but boy howdy is it a lot of fun, and was it great to see this in theaters
Oh
finally
yeah.
after over a year of waiting.
Hmm.
So thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoy more of our content, please hit that subscribe button and join our Discord as well, and we'll see you for any other movies in the future. Thank you.